Welcome into another episode of Coach's Report. This week is a very special one. This is one where I am going to be able to interview for the first time a player that I played along who is now a coach. And right now I'm going to bring him in. Coach Trevino, how are you doing today?
Man, I'm doing great, man. I'm doing great. I was honored you asked, and I really appreciate being on. So how you doing today?
I'm doing great. I was excited about this because this is the first time I get to have somebody that I played with who is out there and has a very unique experience, what you got going on in Wilson that we're going to get into. But I got to start off. Congrats on the first win of the season.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
And your first win being the head football coach. How was that? Like, what were the emotions last Thursday?
Man, it was crazy. So I'm from this town before I moved to Tahoka. So I've never seen so much kids on the sideline for us. I think it was the first time we have 18 playing. And I think that's the most we've had since like 2000 or like 1999. So Pete Christier was out there and he was even shocked, like, where all these guys come from? Wilson's growing and we get adding new stuff every single day. And, the boys won. We won a pretty good game and everybody got playing time. Everybody was like, okay, this is what it feels like to win, and I'm trying to bring that winning culture over here. And so it's just one step at a time, 1 week at a time. Just keep going. Don't be satisfied with one win. We got next week, and so on and so on and so on. Hopefully to build upon that. So I like the energy they brought. I like the energy that the community brought, and I can't wait to next week.
Yeah, well, it was exciting, honestly, man, because I was trying to keep up with the score, and then I finally saw that final hit, and I was like, wow, because I had just booked you for this coming week, and I was like, man, if they win, that's going to be a great talking point. But more importantly, like, it's going to go in a deeper, and we're going to be able to expand on the winning culture and everything. But have you mentioned you're from Wilson, from a small town? I mean, we went to Tahoka together, and you played a lot of sports. You were very involved in different things. How has that helped you become the leader that you are? Because nowadays, especially down here in the big city of San Antonio, you got 3-year-olds already, parents wanting them to be committed to just one sport. And I think that's crazy, but they're like, oh, he's 5. Oh, he's already behind the curve. Like, since when did that happen? But playing so many sports, like, how did that prepare you?
And to kind of touch on that, it is crazy, man. Nowadays, like, kids just want to focus on one sport or two sports, maybe pushing it. And, whenever I played at Tahoka, even at Wilson, I played everything as much as I could. I did track, I did football, basketball, tennis. I was trying to do powerlifting. I was told I couldn't, And of course, our baseball coaches wanted me to play. And I was like, no, I'm okay. That's a little too much. That's like 7 sports right there. But, I would like to think that it did help me. I think that, not in the sport itself, but more of the coaching. I think I got to Tahoka at like the perfect time because, I was a transfer 8th grade to freshman year over there. And, Coach Korn was, I believe it was 2nd or 3rd year. But when I walked in, it was to the T professional. I'm talking about everything was lined up. Everybody knew what they needed to do. You knew what to do. You know what was expected of you, and it was the most, I felt like, hey, this is what it's supposed to be like, And so to have him as my first head football coach was really special. I learned a lot over him offensively. And not only that, also had Coach Gray, who's at Sudan also. And Coach Gray was a defensive coordinator who really believed in me defensively as the starting corner at that time when I was a sophomore. And he really taught me what it meant defensively, how to look at reads and look at your zone and who's coming where. But most of all, he really taught me a lot of life lessons. To this day, I still say Coach, he told us in the huddle, So I appreciate him. And that's just 2 coaches. We had Coach Nees, we had Coach Reggie Gibbs from Lubbock High School, we had BC Lee. We had some fantastic coaches come through Tahoka. And so I think them teaching me everything they know in every single different sport, I got to take a little bit of their IQ. They were very intelligent. So everything I learned, I try to soak in as much as I could, and I do that same thing for my kids. Hey, this is the coach. One of my coaches taught me this. Do it this way. Hey, I like the way that looks, but do it this way. And I credit not just me playing all these sports, but I really do credit all my coaches that helped me throughout my high school and even junior high career. And I think that yeah, if I had one person different, I think that would have affected me. They really have influenced me the way I live my life and the way I do things, and even choices I made in college. I can still hear, Gibbs tell me, that's a distraction. Okay, don't do that. That's a distraction. So I've my coaches in every single sport have helped me develop the coach I wanted to be, and the way I teach my kids.
I like how you named all the different coaches. I think it's exciting whenever people play different sports, and how, I mean, there's things I take from coaches that I still think about today. But was there ever one sport in particular that you kind of knew that you were going to be that next in line? Because one thing I'll say, and I'll praise you for this any day of the week until I die, you were a vocal leader, and that's very hard to beat. That's something I struggled with at times, but it came relatively easy. It felt like, I don't know if that is the case, but it did seem like that. Was there ever a sport that you knew that, hey, at this sport, like I'm the guy, I'm it, or was it kind of all of them together?
What's funny, and I appreciate you saying that, because I have never been told that. I've always been told that I'm not a vocal leader. I'm more of a lead by example kind of leader. And there was times wherever I had to get onto y'all defensively, but I never felt like myself. I was like a vocal leader. I had to become one as I left college, because it's easier to lead by example whenever you're doing drills and say, hey guys, this is how I do it. Hey, come with me, come along with these sprints here and this and that, But when he asked me about, was there ever a time whenever I thought I was the guy, I never thought that. I guess that was my selfless way of thinking, like, hey, I'm not the guy. I'm going to try to push everybody else to be the guy and make them better. A great example was Luke Fleener. He was, when I was a senior, he was a running back, very young guy. And, I loved blocking, and so I was always the lead guy for him. So he would get yards. I wouldn't get as much yards, even though people were expecting me to, because I was the older guy. But I didn't care about any of that. I didn't care about the highlights. I didn't care about any of that. All I cared about was making people better. And I guess that's how I led right there. Basketball too. I mean, basketball, I was known for my defense, and that's kind of what I bought into. I didn't try to be the best guy I could. The spotlight guy. I just try to be the best guy I could for my team. I think that's kind of what made me become a leader. Just lead by example. And I'm really blessed like that. I'm really blessed that I was able to play with such great teammates, especially you as well. And I think that kind of helped me feel more comfortable being able to lead that way. So yes, at times I did lead by example, but I believe at other times I led by example, and I never try to feel like I needed to be that guy. I just try to be somebody that y'all can look up to, and that, hey, if he can do this, then I can do this, and so that's what I try to be.
And being a leader in sports, it can propel you in a lot of many different ways. Was there ever anything else that you considered besides coaching? Was there ever a chance that maybe you went into an office gig or went and tried to ran for mayor somewhere? Was there ever any other thing that you were interested in?
Man, what's funny is that after I graduated from Tohoka, I knew I was going to go to college, and that's what I was preparing for. I still did not know what I wanted to do. I went to South Plains College, got my basics out of the way. Still did not know what I wanted to do. I went to Texas Tech. First day of orientation, had I didn't know what I wanted to do until the day I got lost during my orientation. And that's a really funny story. At first I wanted to do forensic science. I wanted to go into law enforcement. And then I was like, nah, I better not. And I studied all that. Then I wanted to be a meteorologist. I love the weather. I was like, nah, I better not. I took a class about that. I was like, I like it, but I'm good. And then I worked at the hospital for 5 years at Covenant. Met some fantastic doctors, fantastic nurses. They are amazing people out there that work with patients. And I will always be truly grateful that I got to be able to take care of patients as a nursing assistant out there. That really taught me how to work in a chaotic environment and a very stressful environment. And I think that was a great job for me, going to college. So doctors and nurses always ask me, hey, you need to become a nurse. You're naturally gifted. You can talk to people. you're very kind, like go be a nurse. So I tried to be a nurse. I did some science classes, hated it. I was like, I can't do it. I was like, if I want to be passionate about what I do for the rest of my life. I don't want to feel like I want to work for the rest of my life. And I was like, yes, I'm good at this, but I just don't think this is my passion. And so the day of orientation in Texas Tech, I was going to become a math teacher. And I was like, you know what, I'm going to go do math. I was really good at math. That's what I'm going to do. Got lost, ended up at Media Communications College. And the guy was like, come on in, let's just talk for a while. And I told him how much I like sports and this and that, and then, how I want to keep being involved in it. He was like, well, I'm glad you got lost. I was like, look at this major right here. And it was an electronic media and communications major. So that's my major. And I did broadcasting when I was in Texas Tech. And so I worked behind the camera. I wasn't really in the front. I'm not that kind of guy. But I worked for Texas Tech Broadcasting, Raider Vision is what they called it. I worked closely with David Hoagland. He's well known in the Texas Tech area. Pretty much every time you see a Texas Tech event, he's behind broadcasting in any shape, form, anything like that. Very good man. And I fell in love with it. It was almost just like the hospital. It was chaotic, stressful. You have a director in one area, you have a director for ESPN in the other area, and if you mess up, you get chewed out. And I loved it. I love the environment, and I said, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. I want to stick with this. I want to be in big games. I want to see big events, And one day, and this was during COVID, when COVID started being serious, it was during the track season, and they told me, hey, we're going to give you an opportunity to direct a live event for the track meet, the indoor track facility. We're going to teach you, and you're going to be able to direct it. I was okay, this is the next step. This is the next step I can do. Maybe I can get, my foot more in the door. Maybe I can start doing some bigger stuff around state, And first day I wake up, look at my phone, everything gets shut down in the nation, all athletic, school, everything. So I basically lost my opportunity the first day I get it, So it was really heartbreaking. So I prayed about it. For 2 weeks. I was like, I don't want to be at the hospital anymore. I lost my opportunity for broadcasting it. And Lord knows when that's going to come back, And so I prayed about it, called some very, very close friends of mine. And they said, dude, why don't you get into coaching? And it was like, just do it. It was like, you're a good man. It was like, they were like, you're good with kids. You're good at talking to people. It was like, and you're a good leader. Just try it. You want to do it. And I said, okay, fine. So I made some phone calls. And fortunate enough, I got led to McLean, Texas. And McLean, Texas just got off their 2-year state football streak under Coach Lemon, who's at Whiteface right now. Great man, very, very high intelligent football coach as well. And I called McLean. The AD at the time was Coach Rayner. He's known down here and down south for Follett and Meadow. He's still at McLean right now as the AD. And they interviewed me, and they said, hey, we want you to come over here. It's like, we know you don't have your education degree, but we'll work on it. And I was able to get a license throughout that whole year. First year teaching, first year coaching. In the COVID year, it was stressful. It was hard. But this little shout out to McLean, Texas. The administration, the teachers, the coaches, I could have not done it without them. And till this day, that first day at McLean, I felt like I never worked a day out of my life. I felt like it was my passion. I connected with the kids. Now I'm over here at Wilson, and now I'm teaching, kids and teaching math, and now I'm the head football coach, head basketball coach. I'm pretty much everything now. And so, but even though I have all these responsibilities on me, I don't feel like I work a day of my life. I love it. This is my passion, and I believe that everything in my life has led me to this spot right here, right now. And I can see how just me being here has had a positive impact on these kids, and I'm really fortunate.
That reminds me. I vividly remember, like it was yesterday, being on the track, warming up. Coach Gibbs with the jacket on, drinking his Pepsi, and he's like, "Listen, boys, you find something you like to do, and you'll never work a day in your life." And he straight up said, "I don't even work." He's like, "I show up and I rob the place." He's like, "I like what I do. I don't work." So I vividly remember Coach Gibbs saying that, and that's always stuck with me. Is like, you just got to find that something you do, and you'll never work a day. That's very interesting. You went from broadcasting, nursing, potentially healthcare, to broadcasting to coaching. I mean, that's a lot of ways to navigate. But I mean, there's no doubt that I imagine every step of the way you probably learned something from,
Oh yeah,
and has
definitely.
helped you get here. You know, going to Wilson and kind of being presented with the situation you were presented with, and when you were going through the process of potentially taking over all the head boys athletic programs and being the coach, the head coach, and responsible, what was that process like for you? I mean, was it a little bit more chaotic with you being a local from there, or did it seem a little bit more assuring because you kind of knew the layout and what they expected?
Um, I I felt like it was, compared from, I would assume that a bigger school is more complicated. It was more natural feeling, if you get what I'm saying. They already knew who I am at that time. I was already in charge of the guys, the boys program, and people saw how they react to me having my presence around them. They got along with me great. They respected me, and I made sure to stay on top of them, make sure they're doing things right. And just as they saw that, they knew that, that I was a guy to just keep this, train going. And, to keep the culture alive that I was trying to instill into these kids. So I think it was very natural. It wasn't easy because I still got to plead my case, like, hey, this is what I'm going to do here, this and that. Um, but I think just knowing that I was from here, that I knew the kids, that I knew that I knew what I wanted Wilson to become. I think they already knew, like, hey, let's not try to change it up too much because these kids are already used to this, and we already see a positive impact on these kids. There's no point of bringing in somebody brand new and just completely restarting when we've been restarting for the past 7, 8 years. So at least that's all. That's what I'm assuming. They could have just said, "Let's let them do it," but I feel like that they saw what I was doing and what I was, the good things I was bringing to these kids, and they ended up just deciding that it was going to be me to be the head football coach.
And to expand on that a little bit, when you talk about plead your case, what exactly was it that you emphasized on when meeting with the administration? Was there anything special that you wanted them to
So,
know that you were going to put a step forward into making sure happen?
well, the main thing I really pushed for was, hey, let's not restart. I was like, these kids are tired of restarting. Wilson's known to be a revolving door. Always has been since I was going to school there. And I was like, we have great things. We have a new high school getting built. We have, we're getting our new gym, getting rebuilt, new facilities in that situation, new weight room. So we're getting all these new things. These kids are following what we taught them this past year. The worst thing we could do right now is to restart. And I was like, I think that I'm the guy, or I know I'm the guy to continue with to take this program to the right route, to the right spot where it needs to be at. And and they knew it. I felt like they knew it. They saw how passionate I was about teaching these kids, not only in athletics, but also in the academic side of things as well.
And Wilson, for those that don't know, Wilson's a very small six-man school, and when you get these small schools, unless you're winning multiple state championships and live on the right piece of land with the oil, you're not really going to have all of the resources out there. And Wilson isn't known for having all the greatest resources. So as the head coach, kind of how have you went about making sure to get creative with new ways to practice when you may not have this type of equipment that bigger schools or richer schools may have? Kind of what's been that approach like?
Well, when I was going to school here, it was pretty rough. Our weight room consisted of probably half the size of a classroom. It was very, very small. Not very a lot of nice things for us to wear practice wise. But I guess after I left, and as the years went by and they got some new administration and new people on the school board, they started kind of investing more into the kids. And so what made me want to come back, because I was at McLean at the time, and I already signed and said, hey, I'm coming back. They did not want me to leave. And I got a call and said, hey, we want you to come over here to Wilson. And I was like, okay, well, the first thing I asked was like, tell me about your academics. What do y'all do over there? And which kind of took them by surprise. And they do dual. When I was going to school here, they didn't do any kind of dual credit. Over here we do free dual credit classes. They said that we're rebuilding the new high school. We're gonna rebuild the new gym. You know, I could tell that they're already investing in the kids, and that's something I wish we had. You know, I knew that they were increasing their overall status academically. I know they were increasing the letter each year, and actually this past year we actually gone up another letter to the letter B. So our academics have been increasing year by year by year. So each year we're getting better and better, and that's kind of what led me come this way. So it's still pretty hard for schools our size. I've had a fundraise 2 years ago. Our jerseys were in the mess. We had holes in our jerseys. I was like, okay, we gotta get new jerseys. So I would go out and, you know, ask the business, hey, you know, would you, you know, support these boys? You know, that's what we're looking for. You know, I can make a banner for you. And, you know, a lot of them said yes. You know, I guess me being around this area, they know who I am. And I think that helped as well. So I was able to get them brand new jerseys, and that, you know, the boys were excited. They never had anything that nice before, you know, and now, you know, I had to teach them that, hey, now you got to do some fundraising as well. You know, just like I was in high school, you know, we always sell those little beef jerky stuff or the little calendars with the coupons. Like, now it's time for you to come help out. If you want this nice stuff, you know, you got to fundraise as well. You know, I don't know big schools fundraise, but I know schools, not only Toka size 2A, but 1A, we definitely got to fundraise and kind of come together, get nice stuff. So, you know, it was kind of a understanding that, hey, if you want nice stuff, we got to put in the work to get that kind of nice stuff, because we don't have any oil fields out here or anything like that.
Yeah.
Wilson's in a great spot. I think we're in the diamond in the rough. I think we're just waiting to get down. Right between Tohoka and Sladen, and New Home's grown 4 times the size. New Home used to be smaller than Wilson, and now they're almost big Division 2A. So I think that in time, you know, there's a lot of excitement growing around this community. I think that people will start moving in, and the town will start growing, and maybe the funds will start growing and kind of help us in that sense. So
going into the fundraising aspect of this, what have you done, and what have you seen kind of the most success with as far as your fundraising there in Wilson?
The banners have been pretty great for us. Businesses want to help kids, and I've been really fortunate to know some very good people that are willing to help out my kids. You know, we've done some free throw fundraisers, some halftime fundraisers. You know, we had a very good fundraiser where we had people sponsor a kid, and, you know, however free throws they make is how much dollars they would, you know, give to the student to get their whatever they want, you know, like new basketball or something like that. So we got to get kind of creative. I try to do fundraising where it comes straight to the kids and not to, you know, the company. And that's, I just feel like people want to give more to the kid than just to buy a product. You know, hey, somebody just donate this, so it's right to y'all. You know, so we have had to be a little bit creative, but we've seen some success, and we've gotten some really nice stuff because of the hard work they've done. And you know, I just, you know, every year we're like, hey, if you want this, we got to do this day. You know, it's like you got to fundraise the next 4 weeks if you want to get, you know, your nice gear, your nice, you know, your nice hoodie. Like, you know, you got to put in the work to get nice stuff, you know, just like in real life. So I think that in the past 3 years since I've been here, that our fundraising has increased and been able to get us some nice stuff. So
with Wilson and the fundraising and kind of bringing in the new gear for them to wear and this whole new culture that you're building over there, are y'all seeing more kids sticking around rather than transferring? Because, I mean, that's kind of always been an issue too, is with the transfers. Not so much an issue, because you want what's best for the kid.
Yeah.
And academically, Wilson wasn't there, how you mentioned early, like in the past, but y'all are getting there. Are y'all seeing that success in the classroom as well?
We really are. When I first got here, we put in when I first kind of went in charge, we put in we do contracts just like we did in Tohoka, you know. And my thing says, hey, you got to make a 75 or above. And if you don't, you run. I was like, 75, you're trying. You can try to get 75 or above where you're running, you know. And, you know, kids don't want to run extra, but it's not to hurt the kids. It's just to say, hey, you know, you just doing the work and trying you can 100% guaranteed make a 75 or above. You know, and just by me doing that, I had emails from teachers saying, well, this kid is asking for his homework. What did you tell him? I'm just like, nothing. So I'm just grading my own stuff. It was like, well, I have 4 kids coming up to my room saying, hey, what's my grade? What's my grade? They've never asked for my grade in 4 years since I've been here. And those little small things, these little small things I've learned at Tahoka, that I've learned that, hey, you put this expectation on them in the first place, you'll see an increase in a buy-in immediately. And just by doing that, we have seen our grades improve tenfold. Just recently, I just found out that, my old 8th grade students, I think 95% of them passed, and that's the highest percentage that they ever done. And so academically, I'm a very, very big guy in academics. Of course I'm a coach, but academics have to come first in my mind. And I think when parents want to come and move in, they see how serious I am about not just sports, but more about what does your son or daughter want to do? What are their dreams? What do they act right in class? Are they willing to move, bring up their grade, 75 or above, and really to keep it that way, and it just shows that I care about these kids. And I've seen some kids do complete 180s since I've been here, and it's been very, very amazing to see. People are like, he made that grade. I'm like, he's capable of doing that. It's not no shocker, So it's just, if you put in the love to where you're at, and they understand that, hey, you're here to stay. Mm-hmm. People will see that and see the good things that are happening in the community, and say, hey, maybe it's time to give us a try, and Wilson's not the same Wilson it's been when I was smaller. We're trying to do something special over here, and that's kind of the culture I'm trying to instill, where we want to be the greatest around, no matter what, academics and athletics.
That gets me excited because kind of today's day and age, it's always kind of lowering the standard down to the younger kids rather than building them up and showing them that they can do it. And as far as building them up and keeping them motivated, when small schools like Wilson play sports, there tends to be a lot of forfeiting and games canceled because other teams may not have the proper amount of players to field a whole team. Whenever you go through them situations in a small school, what are the challenges like keeping a team motivated, and what are the challenges like in that week not knowing if you're going to play or not?
It's tough, man. It's tough. This is completely different for whenever we were in high school, because, and I think maybe it's because I don't know if it affects the 2A schools and above, but when we played football over there, it was always JV junior games Thursday, or we will always have a Friday night game. That's just how it was. I didn't know high schools were even allowed to play a Thursday game besides the big schools, 6As and 5As. So when I first became a 6-man coach, they were like, oh, we're going to move our game to Thursday. And I was like, you can just do that? I didn't know you could just move your game to Thursday. What do we got to do? And I found out, and that's when I'm learning all the ropes I've been playing, that, we've had a very rough referee shortage, and that hasn't helped either. And it's nobody's fault, with ref shortages and schools not having teams, that's how things get moved around. That's how games get canceled, and you just can't help it. But it's terrible for the kids. It's terrible for the community. It's terrible for the school, because sometimes you just can't help it. I know there's been times where we've had to cancel games because we haven't had enough kids. And, it's to be able to schedule a game is very hard, especially during districts, because everybody's playing everybody, and if they have a bye week, they ain't trying to play. They got things to worry about besides doing an extra game, So it can be difficult at times. Actually, right now I'm trying to find a game. And it's been pretty difficult. And you don't want to be, 2 bye weeks in, so it's hard. It's difficult. Sometimes you got to get creative. Last year, Coach Corna Sudan really blessed us to have us play an 8-man, 6-man game against them, their JV. So sometimes you got to be creative and, ask coaches, hey, can you do me a solid? Do you have any games this week? And sometimes you got to play up. Sometimes you got to play down. Sometimes you got to play JV. Sometimes you got to play a freshman team from a big 2A division school. So, it's just, it happens, and you just got to kind of deal with it. And, at, the worst case scenario, sometimes you don't have a game that week, and you just got to be ready for the next game, and, when that happens, the worst thing that the coach worries about is how rusty are we going to be going in, and coach told me, he said last year they were off for 3 weeks because they had bye week, 2 games canceled, and then they had district the next week. So they said, well, they didn't play a game for 3 weeks. So it is stressful. It is something that makes coaches feel uncomfortable. Like, are we gonna have a game this week? Are we gonna have a game this week? But you just kind of roll with the punches and do what you got to do, and with the referees too, moving games from Friday to Thursday, Saturdays. That's not too big of a deal, but I shout out to the refs because they have a hard job, and we can use more refs, and the kids can use more refs, and it's not the best job in the world, but I appreciate them. I tell you what, I had a ref a game when I was at McLean, a little small peewee football. I'd never do it again. I don't know how they do it.
Those seem to be the worst.
Hey, they're serious about it. I give them credit. There are some serious coaches out there, and that's why they're good out there. But I was like, man, if this is what it feels like to do a peewee football game, hey, I tip my head out to you, referees in high school and junior high. Like, I respect y'all. So, so it's difficult at times, but we roll with the punches.
You may just have to be like, hey, kids versus their parents. Let's go. Let's line it up. Let's get it crazy one time for the Wilson fans.
Yeah.
Being from Wilson, how you stated earlier, and you take a lot of pride in that, which I like to see. And a lot of these kids. And has that been challenging for you? Because sometimes it may be hard for them to see you as that coaching role when it's like, hey man, like you're like my second cousin. Like, come on, we're cool. But has that been a challenge for you? Because it's a challenging coaching anybody's kids, honestly. Like I think it's a challenge for anybody, but especially when you bring in that personal element. Has it been challenging for you, or have you been able to pull more positives from it?
To be honest with you, 100% has not been a challenge. And I think that's kind of shocked some kids when I first got here. When I got here, I told them when I walked through that door, I was like, hey, I've held some of y'all in my arms. I've played sports with your brothers. I know your families. Your dad. I cheered your dad on when I was in junior high, and I was like, but I ain't your friend. I'm not your friend. I'm not your cousin. I'm coaching my nephew right now, and he addresses me as Coach Trevino. He never calls me uncle. He only does that in family time. But this other day, I had to, get on to him. I said, you ain't special. I was like, you ain't all because you're on blood don't mean you're gonna be able to get away from this. So get on the line. So
you get him in a headlock and be like, now call me uncle.
Yeah. But no, I think that's the reason why they're so bought in, because I've walked the same streets. I've dealt with the same things they've dealt with. I've faced the same opponents. They know who I am. They know my story. I know who they are. I know their story. I know their parents' story. I know everything about them. And so by doing that, by me being here and saying, hey, I'm one of you, look what you can do. I think they've really bought in, like, hey, this coach, and I tell them every day, especially on days when I get on to them a lot during practice and like that. I was like, at the end of the day, you can never go home and say, Coach Trevino does not care about me, can you? And they all say, no, sir. It's like, because I love you, and I love you like my own sons. I'm going to treat you like my own sons. And, I would be doing you a disservice if I didn't push you. And so, yes, I have a close connection. It's kind of a mix of like old school and new school. Like, I'm really, really tough on them, but I also show them, that I love them, I care about them. Like, hey, you made this mistake, and this is why we got to do this now. So let's go and fix it real quick. So it has not been a problem whatsoever. They see me. They do see me as somebody they can trust, that they know, and who they can come and talk to. And I just think that me being from this town and knowing who they are, I think that's why they've been able to really buy into what I'm teaching them over here. And so I think that, in my opinion, I think that's an advantage. I think that's a big deal to be able to connect with kids that way.
Yes, it sounds like it. And I like how you say you're old school with a little bit of new school, because people kind of like to just be like, hey, this is the line. Like, you're either one or you're the other. Are you a coach's player, or are you like the hard coach, the Belichick's, the Sabans? Like, what are you? You can't be both, but you can. And in certain situation, it calls for you to be both. One thing I did want to expand on a little bit more for anybody out there that may be considering it. but you obviously didn't get a degree in coaching. You didn't specifically go to college for coaching, and you got your certification that first year at McLean. What program did you use, and kind of what was that process like getting your license and the experience all in that first year?
So it might have changed because it was that first year during COVID, so it was a little bit more simplified. So it could be a little bit different, but I used iTeach. Um, I believe the requirements you have to have a 4-year degree in anything, I believe, and it's just a 1-year program. You just kind of follow the steps and do all the requirements, and sometimes you get people to come in to watch you. During COVID, I had to record my class and had to my principal had to be in there and record my class, me teaching and send it in, and I would be graded that way. And it was a very simple process. And I say that if somebody is thinking about coaching and really wants to do it, that there is simple ways that you can to just go ahead, and I would say go ahead and try to find a job that's accepting first year coaches, that they're whenever you apply, you'll say is willing to accept first years or teaching program or anything like that. You'll see it on there. You can always ask them, and you just do it throughout that first year. And I was lucky to have a very good principal and a very good superintendent at McLean at the time, and Mr. Villegas and Ms. Muniz, who very, very helped me greatly during my time over there at McLean. They really teach me how to be a teacher. And so, with the right support and the right administration, it'll be very easy for you to kind of become one. All I have to do say is that it is hard work. You got to really love it, and you really got to buy into it. I say I can tell when somebody's bought in to being a coach and even a teacher when the first day they get hired. My first day, I was like, okay, when do I move in? And they were like, whoa, you still got to wait like this week. And I was like, oh, okay, sorry. I'm just excited. I just want to meet the kids already, but you got to be passionate. You got to be ready. And my biggest advice is be yourself. You don't got to pretend to be some tough guy, because kids are smart. They can see right through that. They just want to know who you truly are and if you really believe them. And, so if you become a teacher or anything like that, one of the worst advices I ever got was don't smile. And me, I always smile. Even in the weight room, whenever we be struggling, I'll be yelling, screaming, smiling, and saying how terrible this is, but I'd just be smiling the whole time. So that's the worst advice I ever got. I was just myself the first day, and I've always been myself since. So if you're interested, just go for it. Nothing, what's the worst that can happen? You just keep moving on. So that's what I have to say about that.
I will say I want to say there was a couple of times you spoke up in practice and you still walked away smiling. Although you may have been upset, you still walked away smiling.
Yeah.
Going into the next thing, I feel gratitude is very important in today's day and age, and it's something that gets overlooked. I mean, there's so many things to be grateful in throughout a day, and I'm just curious, what are 3 things that you're grateful for right now in your life?
The top 3 things would probably be God, family, and my job. First off, I give all glory to God. I'm very religious. I'm not the perfect man by any means, but I will always strive to be the perfect man, and learn from my mistakes as I continue on my life. And God's been there for me during some very difficult times. Coach Gray said this quote one time, and it stuck with me for my whole life. And he used this with my kids, especially when my kids were very down. And he told all of us one time in practice, adversity causes some men to break and others to break records. And so whenever, things go wrong or anything like that, I always kind of think about that quote and say, hey, I ain't going to break. I ain't going to break. I can get through this, and so, and I do that by God, and I appreciate all the blessings he has put on me and my family, and I continue to live through his name. Family, being a coach is very hard, especially on family, because you're always gone. You don't have time to talk to your friends as much or anything like that. But I'm very blessed to have a great family, a great woman who supports me, great friends who always ask, hey, when's the next game? Hey, we want to come out and support you. So my family and friends, I just thank you all who come support, not just me, but these kids. I really appreciate you and know that I love y'all. And, you got to have a good support system if you want to be a coach and teacher. And of course, my job. With everything that's happened in my life and the routes that I've taken, I'm very blessed and fortunate to be even just a head coach. I don't work a day in my life. I connect with these kids. The smiles that I see from these kids just make my heart happy. Sometimes, you know that this is the best part of their day. So I try to make it the best part of their day. And I try to make sure I teach them that, no matter what happens, you can make your choice and you can do better and you can make something of yourself. I walked these same halls as you, and you can be something special. I believe in you. And if you just do that with these kids, they can move the world. And that's what I truly believe.
One last question I have for you, and it seems fitting because of your situation. But if you could describe Wilson, not just as an athletic department or anything, but the whole school, academics included, because it's so important to you. If you could describe it in one word from when you were there as a young child to now, what would that one word be?
That's hard. I would say special. Wilson's just a special town. It used to be very big and it used to be very, very small, and now it's growing. But if you're from this town, you're happy to be from this town. You're prideful to be from this town. When we get new kids from different towns, as soon as they walk through that door, and I say, hey, because I don't care if you're from Slayton, Tahoka, Abernathy, wherever you're from, it's like, now you're a Wilson Mustang, and you'll always be a Wilson Mustang. You'll always be my son, no matter where you go. I have some kids that left me and they still, send me messages. The parents will say, actually I had a parent from McLean message me the other day saying, hey, I just want you to know that, blah and blah did this and he wanted me to let you know. And I'm like, that's awesome, I just think this is a special town. We're in a special area. We're starting to understand what it means to be from Wilson. And, we're really prideful and we want to be something special. And we know that's not going to happen overnight, but we are trying to put in the steps to become that town. And so I like what the teachers are. We have fantastic teachers over here who stay up late, staying with kids to work on their college work. And we have fantastic administration, fantastic coaches. I have a great AD who supports me. And these families, they love their kids. They love these kids and they want to see these kids succeed. So I can't wait to see what the future holds. I want to get to a point where, yes, I'm here and, I want to be here for the rest of my life, but I want to make sure Wilson at a point that if somehow, some way I ever, do leave, which I don't want to leave, that Wilson will say, hey, this is our culture and that's how it's going to stay. We're not going to be a revolving door anymore, and that's a staple. That's the thing I want to do. And if I can build this, this athletic department, academic department into that way, then I would feel like I accomplished something in my life, to make my old school that used to be this ideology, this revolving door. Oh, you're just there to get your first job and get out, to, hey, Wilson's the place to go. Wilson's the place to take your kids. Wilson's is the place to work. Wilson is the place to be at. And that's kind of what I want this school to become.
Well, thank you, Coach Trevino, for joining us today. I appreciate your insight. And if you don't get a kid from Wilson excited to play football, then you just must not be speaking their language, because I want to go and be a Mustang right now. So,
well, hey, I appreciate it, Victor, man. It's really nice to hear from you. Every time I talk to all the guys, that played football, basketball, baseball, I'm like, hey, man, how's Victor doing? How's Dom doing? They're like, oh, they're just doing good, living down south. So I'm very glad to hear from you. And I'm happy you're doing this. I think this will help coaches a lot and kind of get some insight about how things, different insights, how, what we think and how we did things. So I can't wait to see your next podcast, and I'm going to keep a very close eye. And if there's anything I can do for you, you can always let me know.
All right. Well, I appreciate it, Coach T. You take care.
You too. Appreciate it.